it's his lawyers arguing, not Kejriwal is not present in court. It's his lawyers arguing there on behalf of Kejriwal. The statements that are coming in is that Arvind Kejriwal has been taken into custody right after the poll code in fact, the election dates were announced right after the poll code. He was taken into custody, therefore humiliating him and insulting him. These are arguments that have been put up by Arvind Kejriwal's counsel in court right now. This is the Delhi High Court hearing a plea against ED arrest. They want quick relief from ED arrest. Arvind Kejriwal, not getting relief from a lower court, has reached out to the higher court. Delhi High Court very recently had quipped the Enforcement Directorate asking what was the need to keep Arvind Kejriwal in custody if you can carry on with the investigation while he gets bail. Now, ED has presented its argument, and in the argument, ED, as per the details that India Today has and accessed, ED argues that Arvind Kejriwal has no right to ask for relief or bail because he skipped 9 summons. Nalini, to elaborate a little more on that. Nalini, 9 summons that Arvind Kejriwal has skipped, and finally he was taken into custody. Now this, the ED argues, is enough basis to keep him in custody until investigation and questioning is complete.
Well, yes, Nabila, the ED lawyer, ASGSV Raju, has not officially begun his arguments before the Delhi High Court yet because Arvind Kejriwal's lawyer is still making the arguments. But yesterday, the ED had filed its affidavit in response to Arvind Kejriwal's plea. So in this affidavit, the ED had said some very pertinent things. Number one, they had called Arvind Kejriwal the kingpin and the key conspirator of the entire excise policy case. They had also gone on to say that Arvind Kejriwal had completely waived off his right to question his arrest when he did not object to the custody when the hearing was going on before the trial court. So on the basis of that, they say that Arvind Kejriwal cannot now come to High Court and question his arrest when during the custody hearing, Arvind Kejriwal had said that he has no objection to being sent to judicial custody. Because when the ED had made a plea that he should be sent to judicial custody and they don't want any further custody, there was no objection from Arvind Kejriwal's lawyer on that aspect. So that is something that ED has used. Another very important thing that ED had said in its affidavit was that, of course, Arvind Kejriwal did not handle the Hawala transactions himself. In fact, they gone on to say that it is absurd to suggest even that a sitting Chief Minister of Delhi would have handled the Hawala transactions himself. But in the same breath, they go on to say, but he was very much in the knowledge and he was aware of all the transactions that were happening. And it was under Arvind Kejriwal's leadership that the entire excise policy was formed. Another very important thing that the ED said is that it's not just Arvind Kejriwal, but also the Aam Aadmi Party that is guilty of the offence of money laundering. And that connection the ED is making essentially from the fact that Arvind Kejriwal is the national convener of the Aam Aadmi Party. So some very pertinent points that have been raised even by the Enforcement Directorate before the Delhi High Court in its affidavit. It remains to be seen if they add anything additional during the course of the arguments today. But remember, Nabila, even before Arvind Kejriwal was arrested and the hearing was going on before the Delhi High Court had specifically asked the Enforcement Directorate if there was any evidence with them that was available against Arvind Kejriwal. And in the second half of the hearing on that day, the ED had presented all of the evidence to the High Court. The High Court had perused the evidence, and after that they had denied the interim relief to Arvind Kejriwal. All of this was, of course, pre-arrest, but it remains to be seen whether a similar trajectory is followed. Even now that Arvind Kejriwal is behind the jail, whether ED will actually produce the evidence that they have against the Delhi Chief Minister before the Delhi High Court, and more importantly, whether the Delhi High Court will be convinced with that evidence even more, keeping in mind that he's already behind the bars and the fact that he's still the sitting Chief Minister of the National Capital.
All right, big day for Arvind Kejriwal. The Delhi High Court, they're hearing the matter asking for interim relief from ED arrest. Now, will the court grant Arvind Kejriwal relief? We'll know in due time. Arguments currently underway with Arvind Kejriwal's counsel arguing for him, where they clearly are putting out a point of vendetta that he is being deliberately targeted to finish off opposition right ahead of Lok Sabha 2024. 2 weeks away for elections to begin, April 19th, that it all starts. But in the meanwhile, instead of campaigning, Arvind Kejriwal seeking relief from his arrest.